And we're live. Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Red Pill Diaries. I'm your host, your brother, and your friend Rashid, and I'd like to thank each and every one of you for joining me on the most powerful platform for truth, bar none, on God's green earth. This is your platform for education, elevation, and edification. This is the Red Pill Diaries. I want to first of all say something. We're trying to reschedule Dimitri Lascaris to Friday. Something is going on with the flight. All right. And so just a few things are going on, and we're trying to get a time for it. Okay. So for those of you who know that if a guest is late or a guest is having problems or a guest needs to reschedule, we accommodate them and we try to make everything as comfortable as possible. So we're trying to get a new date, new time, especially as this man continues to travel and he has a whole bunch of other engagements booked and stuff. So I want to tell you this up front. This is no what do they call it? When on YouTube when somebody advertise something that's something else. This is not any of that. I was just communicating with him right before the we went live, and I had to cut the communication short real quick because we went live. We're going to chop it up for a few minutes though. You can believe that, whether he's here or not. But we're going to try to reschedule. I have Alex Craner Friday, so we're trying to see if we can uh like, is there any way to bring him after or before Alex Craner? That's what we're trying to do right now, and hopefully it'll be able to fit in his schedule. All right. So now let's go into a few things. Once on the steps of World War III, we're still we're going to revisit this when we have Demetrius on the show in the coming days. Okay. For those of you, I want to apologize who were looking forward to Demetrius, but we're gonna have him on. Demetrius is a friend of the show. He's always on the show, so don't even worry about that. But and things happen, and you have to be uh able to deal with those things and continue pushing, and you got to continue to put out content and you got to continue to give the truth because there's some things I wanted to ask, and I am going to ask Demetrius because he is on the ground. He was on the ground in that area when the overthrow of the Assad government took place, and he has sources and everything. And I want to ask him certain things about that, his perspective and his opinion about what went down. And you'll get a chance to ask him too, because I'm going to highlight your questions when he comes on the show. Now, there's so many things that's going on in the news, but I want to go to something. Let me go to I emailed me something. Where is it? I emailed me something. I was looking at an article last night. Not looking at, I saw the article, and I said this needs to be saved so I can bring this back up. And it's about Africa. Let me see something. Let me see if I can pull this up real quick. Give me 1 second, everybody. Let's go to RT News real quick. Excuse me, because you have to be careful because they'll remove content real quick too, especially content that does not fit in the narrative. And I hate to say this, right? But RT sometimes acts like it's a Western press outlet. Um, Sometimes they have good content, but sometimes they act along with the Western press as well as press TV on certain occasions. Okay, when it suits them. But let's go to something real quick. Africa. Let me put this in here real quick because there was something in an article I read, like the first paragraph or the first two paragraphs, I believe it was, and I said there's something to this that I need to bring up on the show. Let's see. Here it is. Here it is. If you don't think colonialism still exists today, you have lost your mind. You have lost your mind. And this is why the rules-based international order is in a frantic move and at a frantic pace trying to subjugate Africa, subjugate Latin America, prevent the rise of China, prevent the reemergence of Russia, to prevent the independence of West Asia, because the entire base or structure of the Western world is based off colonialism. It's based off unfair competition. It's based off, I would call it the Count Dracula rules. And what I mean by that, Nosferatu. All right. We know that you have leeches, you have um, uh, vampires, you have succubuses, right? And how do these entities sustain their lives? It's through attaching themselves to others and sucking the life's force out of those others to maintain their appearance, to maintain their way of life. That without a host body, these things could not continue to exist, right? I want to go to something real quick in this article. Because when I read two paragraphs. Yep, the first two paragraphs, and this is a short article, right? But it gives us a base of the Western world in their thinking, okay, and how they believe that they have the right to uh, exploit other nations' resources and other nations' minerals at will. That's why you hear America, you hear Britain, you hear the rest of them always talking about our interests in X amount in this part of the world. What is your interest? How can your interest in a region that lies some thousands of miles away from your shores supersede the interests of the people of that very region? Huh? No one asks those questions. How can your interests dictate to the world that you must be present thousands of miles from your shores to suppress people in that region? Those people in that region becomes terrorists. They become Islamists. They become extremists. They become insurgents. But in every area of the world that you are illegally there, you justify through the promotion of quote unquote democratic values, through the promotion of fighting terror, when there was no terror before you came there. Huh? Let's go to something real quick. This is very important. This is very, very important that we read this article here. And in this article, you get a state of mind from the Western world that I don't want fair competition. I don't want this to be an even playing field. I don't want this to where you benefit off your resources, where you benefit off your labor. It's all about exploitation and making a buck and taking the minerals back to the West to refine so that I can make a living, and maybe I'll drop some crumbs off to you and I'll exploit you by refining these resources and selling them back to you at exorbitant prices. Listen closely to this. Okay, the name of the article, you can read this. The name of the article is this. Canadian mining group suspends operation in African state. I'm going to say that again. Canadian mining group suspends operations in African state. Barracks says Malian authorities have seized stocks of gold from its sites. Hold on a second. Let's look at this real. Barrick says Malian authorities have seized stocks of gold from its sites. Where are the sites? In Mali. So what's so wrong with that? The Malian government got wind that these Canadian and Western corporations were underreporting their finds at mines. And they were only reporting a small percentage of the gold that they were mining to the government, and was only giving pennies on the dollar to the other gold that they were mining that they reported. So he feels offended that the Malian government is looking out for the interests of the Malian people. So they suspend operations because Malian authorities seized Malian gold in Mali. And think about that. In Mali, excuse me. I said Mali, but it's Mali. Think about that. He is offended. How dare you seize your gold from us? How dare you dictate to us the terms on the gold? I want you to understand, this is not in Canada. This is taking place in Mali. Mali, excuse me. This is taking place in Mali. So he's offended that the Malian authorities will look out for the best interests of the Malian people by seizing the gold that was not being reported by the Canadian miners in Mali. If that is not a colonial state of mind, you tell me what is. Let's go a little further. Canadian Mining Corporation Barrick Gold has told has announced that it will suspend operations in Mali in response, listen to this, in response to a long-running dispute with the West African country's military government over alleged unpaid taxes. Now, they would always put in military government, right? Right? This is to throw a little shade on the Malian government. This is to throw a little shade on the armed forces of Mali. This is to also delegitimize what is legitimately in the interest of the Malian people. So they say the military government. And in the West, that's code word for dictatorship, tyrant. You understand? This is what they put out to you because they don't respect your intelligence. They not only exploit in the physical sense, they exploit mentally because they don't give you an honest view and an honest discussion on what is actually taking place. Let's go a little further. The company accuses the Malian authority. Listen to this. Accuses. I can understand if this was in Canada, then the accusations may bear some legitimacy. But this is on Malian soil, right? Malian resources for the Malian people from the government of Mali and the military of Mali. So the accusations are crazy. Only in the bizarro world can you justify being mad that people in Mali want what is theirs. Do you understand? In bizarro world, the victim becomes the aggressor. The aggressor becomes the victim. They flip everything upside down. Let's go further. The company accuses the Malian authorities of seizing gold stocks from its Lulo Gunkoto complex. Stop right there. Before we go a little further on that. Where's that complex at? It's in Mali. What gold stocks? Malian gold stocks. So it accuses the Malian authorities of seizing gold that belonged to the Malian people, the people of Mali. So they have a problem with the authorities there for looking out for the best interest of the people of Mali. But when you read the article, it's not put in such terms. I'm telling you, they don't respect you. There's no way they could respect you and write articles like this. No way, no flipping way. To make the aggressor the victim and the victim the aggressor. The company accuses the Malian authorities of seizing gold stocks from its Lolu Gunkoto complex located in the west of the country, not the west of Canada, the west of Mali. And transferring them, listen to this part, and transferring them to a custodial bank, thereby effectively blocking the shipment and sale of precious metal. Oh, what is so wrong about this in their eyes? The Malian government and the Malian military would not allow the Canadian company to transfer the gold to France or to Canada. Remember, Canada has no more gold reserves. Remember, they got rid of their gold reserves a few years ago. This is why they have been underreporting the gold that they have been mining in Africa. Remember that. And what is the basis for a monetary system? Gold and silver, because these are tangible assets. So in the midst of a collapse, and we're looking at an economic collapse, the likes of which we've never seen before, it becomes imperative that the Western world gets some gold reserves to try to stem the tide of the collapse, because so much of the gold has been transferred from west to east because of the rise of China. But Mali is demonized for seizing their gold that was being stolen by Canadian companies in Mali. Man, if you don't flip and get out of here with that, if you don't get out of here with that foolishness. And let's go a little further. It says, according to sources, and we know Reuters is a British publication, but we know Reuters is also an agency of British intelligence, okay? It says, according to sources cited by Reuters on Monday, the government removed around 3 metric tons of gold worth $245 million from the mining site and flew them out by helicopter on Saturday. The world's second largest miner has been at odds with Mali, listen to this part, since 2023 over a new extraction contract that would give the landlocked state more control over its minerals. You see that? See, that's what this is all about. Canada is pissed that Mali would dare assert its rights to its own resources. So it then tries to delegitimize the moves of the government and the military by saying the military government. Do you see this? So it goes and says, the world's second largest miner has been at odds with Mali. Now they're in Mali, mining Malian gold. But they've been at odds with Mali since 2023 because Mali said, listen, we have proof, and the Malian government presented proof that the Canadian company, along with French companies, were underreporting their findings in all of those resource-rich countries in the Sahel. They were underreported. They were only reporting roughly what I think the report said a quarter of what they were mining. That's theft. Think about if you only reported a third of your income to the U.S. government, what your standing would be, what your position would be. They would look at you as a tax evader, right? And you'll go to jail because it's illegal. So Mali and the Sahel nations don't have that same right. They don't have that same responsibility to their nation. Talk to me. Let's go a little further. And it says, the world's second largest miner has been at odds with Mali since 2023 over a new extraction contract that would give the landlocked state more control over its minerals. Why would you be, if you say you're for fair competition, because that's what America, Canada, Britain, and the West continually talks about, fair competition. Why would you be so pissed that the state, which is showing you so much benevolence by allowing you to come in there and extract some of their resources to make a living and to make profit, is now demanding, listen, we've checked the books, we've checked the records, we understand that you're underreporting what you're finding. Things are changing. If you want to still do business here, you can still make profit, but we're going to have our people on site at all times, recording government ledgers, not just your business ledgers, but government ledgers of the things that are found so that we are not shortchanged and that the money can make it to the people. What's so wrong about that? What's so wrong about the Malian government and the Malian military demanding a better agreement than what Canada was getting when Canada is extracting and taking all of the resources out without any accountability, I might add. Just their words saying, hey, we found this amount of gold and we're going to give you 20, 30% of it. What's so wrong about the Malian government and the Malian military say, hey, listen, that's not how this is going to go in 2025. We will control the transfer of the gold, and we're not transferring it to a U.S. bank. We're not transferring it to London. We're not transferring it to Paris. We're going to transfer it to one of our banks in Mali. We'll hold on to it for safekeeping. And once we get the records and the books, we'll transfer your portion out. What's wrong with that? How is that unfair? America does it. How is it unfair when the said nation is an African nation doing what the Western nations do? How is that unfair competition? How is that illegitimate? This is what I'm telling you. They turn the victim into the aggressor and the aggressor into the victim. Canada is now saying that they're suspending their operation. Okay, Russia and China will come in. North Korea will come in. Iran will come in. And they'll mine the gold. But Canada is trying to make it seem as though they're being ripped off, that they're being exploited. This is not how things go. Shout out to my guy. Shout out to Perseverance Chameleon. Shout out to Flying Crocodile. Shout out to Pedro in the building. Nick Hall is in the building. Danielle is in the building. So listen, let me tell you all this. Where's my phone? I got a message earlier that you know he needs to reschedule to Friday, so we're trying to find a a, a time that suits both of us. Maybe Friday, maybe not, maybe a few days after that. Because I got a show on Friday with Alex Craner. Um, he's booked a lot, but he's traveling while he's doing shows, and I'm talking about Dimitri Lascaris. And you notice he's always on the platform, so you know he'll be on the platform. We'll get him on, and we're going to try to find a better time for him. Okay, so I just want all you guys to know that this is not bait. What they call it, bait and switch or whatever. It's not anything like that. You know, when he missed the show one time before, he came back and did 2 shows back to back on the platform. So you know, maybe he'll come back and do 2 shows back to back. Who knows? You know, but think about this stuff here. Um, Let me look in the comment section. Uh, let's see. I hope Pedro is safe. Um, let's see. All right. Flying Crocodile says, if Mali nationalized the mining operation, Canada can't do much about it. However, other corporations will be less inclined to do similar deals with Mali. That's true in a sense. Okay. Flying Crocodile, you're right. Other corporations, but here's a thought. Maybe that's what they want. We don't seem to understand that Russia has mining technology comparable to, and in some cases, superior to the West. We don't seem to understand or put in our head that China is the largest miner in the world. So they have excellent technology when it comes to mining. And you don't think the Chinese would, within a second, come in there? We know that Iran has a good mining base. They will come in. North Korea has good mining a base. As a matter of fact, some of the North Koreans help Iranians mine or excavate certain tunnels for their mountain bases. So these nations would come in quickly because it's a source of revenue. And besides that, not only can they get revenue from it, but they can also, instead of selling the gold they could then put those golds back at the gold hoard that they agreed to. Their portion of it can go back to their country and be a hedge against dollar hegemony and dollar collapse. Right? But these things have to happen. We cannot be mad at the Malian government and the Malian military for wanting to do the right thing. Sometimes you got to take a loss. Sometimes a setback is a setup for success. You know, sometimes there was a little fly on my computer. I cannot stand those little bugs that fly through your curtains, through your window. I have my window up right there, and I can't stand the little gnats. But anyway, sometimes the setup, the setback is the setup for success. Think about this. They've been under the Canadian mining corporation for the longest. Where has it benefited them? So if that is not benefiting you and the only people being enriched by that is Western corporations, then it's time to reevaluate your policy and your standing on the extraction of minerals and gold from your country. With the way the dollar is bouncing back and forth, and with the way the euro is bouncing back and forth, and the British pound is bouncing back and forth, and with the destruction of industry across the Western world, Mali, in my opinion, is doing something that a lot of nations should do. Start taking control of their own resources. Because in the midst of a collapse, the hedge against dollar collapse, the hedge against Western economic collapse and the destruction of the rules-based international order is gold and silver. That's tangible. These are tangible assets. Do you understand? And Mali, following the lead of Burkina Faso and Niger, are now saying, listen, these agreements that was forced upon us, they're out the window. No. There is no way that you're going to get 75% of what you mine in our country. And then we get 25%, and then we have to split that amongst the nation. That's not how this is going to go. So what you see is former colonies saying, listen, we are done with this unfair crap. We are human just like you are. If we did you like this, we would never hear the end of it. So what makes you so special that you can do it to us? And think about this. Here's another thing in it. Shout out to Gomez in the building. Thank you. Now check this out. We see that Venezuela had problems getting its gold back, right? We see Germany, a Western nation, has yet to get all of its gold back. So isn't that thinking ahead strategically to say, you know what? We'll fly the gold out. We'll fly it to our banks. We'll hold it in safekeeping in our banks. And once we do our books on it, we'll give you your portion of it and you can do whatever you want to do. But you're not going to fly out all of this gold and tell us that it was only a small portion of the gold that you found. They were reporting 25% of their findings. And this is not just 1 year. This has been going on for over a decade. So, and I would tell them, since we have come to the conclusion that you have been stealing, because that's what it is, let's call an ace a ace and a spade. They were stealing. Then you have to pay restitution. All right? Whenever you steal, if you go before the judge orders restitution. Whenever you rob somebody, the judge orders restitution. Right? In the Western world. So why can't the nation that has been robbed order restitution? The gold that you mined, instead of you getting your 25%, because you're not getting 75% no more, you can just stop that. You'll get 25%, but we're going to put a hold on 10 of your percentage, 10% of your holding to pay restitution until we have collected all of the gold that you have been stealing from us for a decade or two. Why is that wrong? The West does it. Why is it wrong? Let's go a little further. I told you it was something when I read that first, when I read the title and then I read the first 2 paragraphs. I said, man, this is going to be something that I want to talk about. So let me save this. So I emailed it to myself so that we could talk about this. And I was not wrong in the least because this is fire. This article is fire. So listen, it says, the world's second largest miner has been at odds with Mali since 2023 over the new extraction contract that would give the landlocked state more control over its minerals. The former French colony is one of Africa's top gold producers with large-scale mining operations such as the Lolo and the Gunkoto mines, which are 80%. Listen to this. I want you to tell me where this is fair. Tell me, which are 80% owned by Barrick and 20% by the Malian government. In what world, what universe is that fair? Isn't Trump screaming about unfair competition right now and putting tariffs on nations and seizing the Panama Canal, quote unquote, because he's being fleeced? We know that's a lie, but he's saying that they've been charged more. What do you think an 80-20 split is? Huh? The resources are in Mali. They belong to the Malian people. They belong to the Malian government. They belong to the Malian military. Yet the Canadian company gets 80% of it, and they're underreporting by 75% what they're getting. Where is that fair at? Huh? Flying Crocodile says, the big problem with corporations is that you can't jail them or their shareholders. No, but what hurts even more is not jailing them. Jail their revenue. Sanction them. When you step out of line with America, she does not hesitate, right, to sanction you, right? What's good for the goose has to be good for the gander, right? Is that not right? Nick Hall says, I think UK sees approximately 3% of oil revenue resources. Whoa. Now, check. Think about that. A former French colony. Now, remember, when these companies come into these regions, they don't negotiate on fair basis. What they do, they come in and say, "This is the terms dictated. If you don't accept this, we'll create terror. We'll finance terror, like Chiquita Banana. You know Chiquita Banana, how they have their own militias and their death squads down in Central America. I'm not lying. Google this. There's a documentary about. There's a couple documentary about it. Chiquita Banana out there killing people because they want fairer wages and because they want more revenues for their countries. And Chiquita Banana has death squads down in Central America. The same thing applies to Mali and the Sahel region. So when they come in there, there is a book. I got a book on my shelf. It's called Confessions of an Economic Hitman. I think every one of you, every single one of you should read that book, Confessions of an Economic Hitman. I remember when it first came out, I had to have that book. I read the book from cover to cover 4 times. Confessions of an Economic Hitman. And this comes from a person who was an economic hitman. And in this book, he goes into how Western corporations and Western governments go into Latin America and Africa and West Asia and Asia, and how they unfairly and immorally threaten and suppress governments and people so that they can siphon off the resources. Yeah. I mean, he goes into that. And he really, please, everybody. Smedley Butler. Let me put this up there. Oh, yeah, Smedley. Smedley Butler was something else, too. But this guy, I forget his name. Confessions, go research it. Confessions of, let me put it up there. Hold on one second, everybody. I'll tell you the name in a second. I got the book on my shelf over there. I read incessantly. By John Perkins. That's his name. John Perkins. I would have gotten up and went over to my one of my bookshelves over there and gotten it, but I'm live on there. Confessions of an Economic Hitman. I think that's required reading. And he tells you how they go in there and try to bribe the leaders and how they threaten the leaders and if they don't play ball, they sanction the countries. Then they send in people to destabilize the country, cause terror and cause color revolutions, and eventually they go for assassination attempts on the government leaders and those who are for the people. And if that doesn't work, then they demonize them through the media, and then they justify war on the nation so that they can get the military in there, so that the military can seize all of the strategic assets for the Western corporations to then come in and pillage and rape the people economically. I think this is a required reading for everyone. I mean, that is an awesome book. Confessions of an Economic Hitman. All right. So again, it's by John Perkins. All right. It'll be the best $15, $20. It'll be a good investment to get that. All right. Gomez, let me see what you're saying. You says it used I know it used to be called Yeah, that's right. It used to be called United Fruit Company, which overthrew so many Latin American countries. Absolutely. See, he understands. He knows exactly what I'm talking about. Chiquita Banana was down there with death squads killing people. Telling you this. So when you eat a Chiquita Banana, remember that. Dole, you know, the pineapple that has all of them. All of that. Just Google it. I'm not making anything up. Everything that I say can be substantiated. You know? So let's go back to this. The former French colony is one of Africa's top gold producers. So Right now, we have an understanding that Mali is one of Africa's top gold producers. And remember that Africa is the continent that is the richest in resources, period. This has been found by the British mining and British, I forget the name of the company, the British intelligence, U.S. intelligence, the Pentagon, and others have come to the conclusion that every mineral on Earth can be found there in abundance. It is the only place on planet Earth where all minerals are there in abundance. Period. So, knowing that, and this is a former French colony, and France comes in, and it's also one of Africa's top gold producers, then how in the hell, in a negotiations, a fair negotiation, does a Western corporation negotiate 80-20? And how does that Western corporation think that that's fair? Huh? 80. So the entire nation of Mali. Matter of fact, we're gonna find something. Okay, hold on 1 second. Give me 1 second. So the entire population of 24 million people in Mali has to split 20%, and a corporation gets 80. Where's that fair at? Huh? Where's that fair competition? Where's that just? Right? And all one has to do is ask this question to these nations that are espousing themselves to be upstanding Christian nations. Would Jesus do that? Would Jesus do that? Would Jesus exploit the masses of the people? Of course he would, because he's a man of God. So he's godly, and that godliness flows out for my Christian brothers and sisters. So how can anyone in the West justify an 80-20 split where a corporation gets 80% and the entire nation of 24 million people get 20? And it's their resources. Man, if you don't stop this madness. So it goes further and says this. However, since taking power in a coup in 2020, see, this is what they don't like. The new government is not playing that. Since taking power in a coup in 2020, the new leadership in Bamako has sought more revenue from the sector to boost state income as the price of the precious metal continues to rise. In 2023, the Sahel state passed a new mining code allowing the government to own up to 30% of any new projects. Now listen, that's still not a lot. Oh, think about that. Canada say that they will not renegotiate, and they say that this government that was founded in a coup is tyrannical, and all they're asking for is another 10%. Another 10%. 24 million people. And the government is asking for 10 more percent. But that's unfair to the corporation that is raking in 80%. And remember what I told you, and they have not been reporting their books right. And they say upwards of 75% of what they have been bringing in has not been reported. But Canada is crying about unfair renegotiation of a contract on Malian soil with Malian resources from the Malian people, the Malian government, and the Malian military. If you don't flipping stop your whining, that's entitlement. You believe because you are a Western corporation that you're entitled, and these people don't sit on the same platform as you. They're not the same as you. The only way that you can exploit people is that you think that you're better than them. Because when you think that that you're pious, and that when you're humble, it's hard for you to exploit people, because there's a God in your mind and in your heart that you're saying that even if I get over on this person, God knows that, and I can't deal with that. But these people are about profit. They're about the exploitation of lives and resources. Oh, Flying Crocodile says, oh yeah, Flying Crocodile, absolutely. Not to mention Cuban sugar, absolutely. The United States almost went to war with Cuba again about that. All right. P1 is in the building too. Nick Hall says false entitlement. Absolutely. And Flying Crocodile says the percentage of ownership may need to be lopsided in order for the corporation to make a profit if the yield is real low and the cost to build and run the extraction facilities is really huge. That's a cop out, Flying Crocodile. The percentage of ownership may need to be lopsided in order for the corporations to make a profit if the yield is real low and the cost to build and run the extraction facilities is really huge. In any other instances, if that was in the Western Hemisphere, that would not be accepted. So let's look at this. Let's go back to something that they said here to address what you said. However, since taking power in a coup in 2020, the new leadership in Bamako has sought more revenue from the sector to boost state income as the prices of precious metals continue to rise. The precious metals continue to rise. So there's profit in that already. And what do you mean 80-20 when they're stealing 75% of it anyhow? We're going to leave the 75% out that they've stolen? Nah. I just look like this. Check this out. It says, in late September, the Canadian firm, and the reason I'm staying on this article for a minute, because it's very important. What I'm trying to do is give you an insight to Western politics, Western policy, Western exploitation. Because they have been doing this ad nauseum for centuries. And they have justified the exploitation of nations around the world. When one thing doesn't work for them, they come up with terrorism. When that doesn't work for them, it's democracy. When that doesn't work, it's human rights. When that doesn't work, it's freedom. If that doesn't work, they come up with something else. It's always something to justify the exploitation of others. But when it comes to them, what Trump says, I'm tired of unfair competition. Right? We'll sanction China's network here. We'll make them give us TikTok. We'll do this. We'll do that. Huh? When the shoe is on the other foot, the West can't stand it. But when it's on former colonies, there's a justification for it. That's the mind of exceptionalism, racism, fascism, and capitalism. When I can exploit you ad nauseum, but if you dare stand up to my exploitation, you become a tyrant, a dictator, an Islamist, an extremist, an insurgent. Oh man. Right, Nick Hall has it right there. This price is based on the extraction costs. Absolutely. That's one thing I was going to get to. Nick, thank you. When they set up, it's already based on that. But listen, not only do they not want to give the Malian people an extra 10%, but think about over a decade plus, they have stolen every year. Whatever they have reported, they have stolen 75% more than what they've reported. When is enough enough? Huh? Gold and silver prices are based on demand rather than extraction costs. Well, let's look at that. Okay. Gold is the premier hedge against inflation. Gold is the premier hedge against economic instability and collapse. Silver also. But here's something. In all of the TVs, electronics, and everything like that, you have silver. And we know that silver is a little bit more rare than gold when it comes to extracting. So these things are precious metals because you can't get them in abundance. Right? So if they're hedges and they have been money, I'm not talking about fiat money, I'm talking about tangible assets since the beginning of time. Regardless of what the money says, the fiat, you're extracting something tangible from me. Something that can secure your livelihood down when inflation comes up. I don't deserve something out of that. Only deserve 20%. And I'm only getting 20% of 25%. This is not 20% of 100%. This is 20% of 25% because 75% of it has been stolen. Man, stop this. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. And Nick Hall says, it belongs to the people of Mali, not the people of any corporate. Absolutely. So listen, I want you to think about this. Let's look at America for a second. All right. Trump is about to be inaugurated. Trump has already said that when people want to do business with the United States, they're going to have to come in and do it by U.S. laws, dictates, and all that stuff. Then why does the Western corporations think that they can go into other nations and not have to abide by their laws? If you want the gold, then you will submit to what I said. If you don't want the gold, get the hell out. When one wants, the other will. Mali is not begging the Canadian corporation to come in and mine because the Chinese have already hinted to them that they would come in and they'll do it for a better deal. The Russian corporations have already hinted that they would come in and do it for a better deal. So I got at least two nations with the technology, with the will, with the drive, and with the desire to come in on a more equitable basis to mine this gold and let us account for all of the findings of the gold, which is not, they're not going to report a 25% and still 75%. They're going to report 100%. And then whatever the split is, we'll go from that 100% and get the split. To hell with the Canadian company, get Ghost. Because in real time, Canada has no gold reserves. They need us. We don't need them. What good has the Canadian corporation brought to Mali right now? I'll give you time. They've been there for over a decade. What good economically have they brought to Mali? I'll wait. And since they have brought no good to the nation of Mali, good riddance to the Canadian corporation. All right? Yeah. That's what I'm saying. So let's go a little further. In late September, the Canadian firm announced that it had reached a preliminary agreement with the military-led, once again, the military-led government. That is to delegitimize the government that is for the people. Because remember, the government prior to that was in power on the gratuity of the West because they accepted the pennies on the dollar that the West said that they were going to give to them. And the people and the Malian military got tired of it and they overthrew it because they wanted a better deal for the people and they wanted the people to own the assets of Mali. So when this thing says the government-led military, why don't they tell you the entirety of it? The government-led military that was inspired by the movement of the people. In late September, the Canadian firm announced that it had reached a preliminary agreement with the military-led government to resolve concession disputes. It added that the terms of the contract, which will also govern Barrett's partnership with Bamako, will be made public once finalized. Since then, tensions have escalated, with Mali detaining senior Barrett executives. It has also issued an arrest warrant for its CEO, Mark Bristow. On charges of money laundering, the company has denied the allegations. Now, I want to see if this is true, if the Malian government is just doing that. The CEO has an account of all things that go on financially in the company. The CEO is aware that the Malian government has been being fleeced by the Canadian corporation. But the Canadian corporation was not paying Mali 20% of the 100% that they found. They was paying them 20% of 25% that was being reported. Now, where was all of this other gold going, and who had knowledge of it? Huh? Surely the CEO, the chief executive officer of the corporation, knew and directed this to take place. Right? So if that is the case, isn't that legitimate what the Malian government said? That this money laundering. Because if you're laundering gold, gold is what you really call money. If you did that in London, you'd be in jail. If you did it in DC, you'd be in jail. So why is it when Mali asserts its national interest, they're just talking, that's the military-led government that is doing X, Y, and Z? See, that tinge of exceptionalism, colonialism, racism. That's what that is. So let's go a little further. And I have to do this. And listen, I'm doing this for a reason. I don't think people take the time out to break down these articles. And I think they're doing a disservice to everybody when they don't break the articles down. Because there's so much wrapped into these articles that need to be unpacked to give people a thorough understanding of what is being presented to them. Right? I do believe so. And so that's why I'm taking this time out with you to do this, because I don't think other people respect you. They don't respect your intelligence, because some of the things that they say, I'm like, what? What? Like, it's hard for me to accept the narrative that they're putting up against Assad. Not that I'm backing Assad and all of that stuff. Like, it's hard for me to accept the narrative because this stuff is just coming out, and you know when a person has been deposed, all kind of crap comes out to weaken their standing in their view in the eyes of the people and strengthen the people who betrayed them. America does it all the time. Britain does it all the time. But when it's Russia and Iran, we're supposed to just overlook that. We condemn America for doing that stuff. We condemn Britain for doing that stuff. And then because we may have a leaning towards Russia or Iran, we just ignore that stuff. That's not how you do it. You have to be a straight shooter, and you're supposed to call an ace and a spade a spade. You understand? So, Phobos Moon, shout out. Shout out. Flying Cracker Master Rashid, you're correct. Journalism sucks hard these days. Absolutely. Listen. It's all about, even the mainstream media is compromised. I got a clip on my channel from an interview with Scott Ritter. Right? I've done multiple, maybe 6 or 7 interviews with Scott, something like that. And I did a clip. It's about, I don't know, 7 to 15 minutes or something like that. And Scott talks about how alternative media is compromised. Go look at it. And this is what I'm telling you. The people that you're listening to, they offer just, and I'm not down it because I like to listen to, I like Judge Knapp's channel. I like to listen to him. And there's other ones. But a lot of people are, they only give you so much. But when it comes against their narrative, they're not man or woman enough to say, you know what, I was wrong on this thing right here. I actually think that Russia and Iran were wrong for doing X, Y, and Z, or China was wrong for this part right here. You gotta, when you're dealing with people and you see something that is not right, and you're supposed to be a steward of the people, you are supposed to acknowledge that. Or you could be charged with disseminating wrong information. By God. To hell with YouTube and the census, I'm talking about by God. How can these people do this? How can they do this? Right? You're listening to them, you're giving them your time. Some of you giving them your money, and then they exploit you on a level unlike anything seen before. It behooves me. I can't do it. You can keep your money. You can keep all that because I can't do it. I won't do it. I won't be a part of nothing like that. Because eventually you got to go before God. So listen, it goes further and it says, and we're almost at the end of this. It's a short interview. I just been breaking the articles down, rereading the paragraphs. We're almost at the end of it, so y'all bear with me, okay? It says, Mali has previously demanded around $500 million in unpaid taxes from Barrick, according to reports. On October 24th, the corporation announced that it had paid $85 million to the African country as part of the ongoing negotiation. Earlier this month, Malian senior judge Boubacar Musa Diarra issued an order for the seizure of 3 tons of gold from Barrick, according to court documents quoted by multiple outlets. The Sahel State's economy ministry reportedly said Barrick owes the government $5.5 billion. Where would he get that number from? Did he make that number out of thin air? Where would they get that? Listen, the economic minister said that the true amount that you owe us is 5.5, not 500 million, 5.5 billion. What did he get that from? Back taxes. What about back taxes? When they were underreporting their findings of gold. That's money laundering too. Do you understand? That's theft. So, last week, Barrick said it had been unable to ship gold from its mining sites in the African country due to an interim attachment order, which it claims is in contravention of the agreed dispute resolution mechanisms. First of all, you have nullified any contractual obligation by the Malian government by underreporting your gold findings. You have nullified the contractual obligation that you entered into with the Malian government by not paying taxes on your findings, right? So for you to say that they're not using the contractual dispute resolution is a misnomer because you didn't use it. You were caught red-handed. So you nullified all of the parameters of this said agreement by stealing, lying, and laundering gold. Huh? Anybody with me? You understand what I'm saying? But only in the mind of the West can they believe that the people who have been victimized are the aggressors. If you don't like the terms of the agreement, then pack your bags and get the hell out. Listen, Perseverance. Why pay for the gold when you can scam the people? The hypocrisy is real. Boom, mic drop moment. And it says, as a result, Barrick has regrettably initiated the temporary suspension of operations while it continues to work towards a resolution, the firm said in a follow-up statement on Tuesday. In December, Barrick filed an arbitration request with the International Center for the Settlement of Disputes to resolve the conflict with Mali over the Lolu Gunkatu complex. What they're trying to do is now delegitimize. Listen to me good. In December, Barrick filed an arbitration request with the International Center for the Settlement of the Investment Disputes. I believe, let's see. Hold on one second. Hold on one second. Give me one second, everybody. We do this live to let you know there's nothing that's plotted and planned or nothing like that. We give you the facts right there. And I do it so that you can find it real easy. All right. Now, I just did this right here. You saw me just do this. All right. It says, I put in so that you can put this up there. Okay. You can do the exact same thing that I just did. I put in International Center for the Settlement of Investment Disputes location. And it comes up, the International Center for the Settlement of Disputes is located at 1818 H Street, Northwest, I forget what it's, Washington, D.C. So listen what they're doing. They, the Canadian corporation is trying to delegitimize the laws of Mali, right? And saying that there is a dispute mechanism or dispute that should be looked at by a Western-controlled, colonial-based organization. If that is not racist as hell, you tell me what is. I don't respect your laws as the Malian government. I don't respect your the way you're handling business. I don't respect this. I believe we should take it to that. And where is that? In Washington, D.C. So now you have more colonial nations that you're trying to bring into the fray because you don't respect the authority of the Malian government and you don't respect the wishes of the Malian people. So you want to take it out of the hand of the Malian people, even though they are a sovereign nation. A sovereign nation. You don't respect their sovereignty. So you're saying, now let's hand it over to America. Why do you say that? Because you know that that's your colonial Western partner. And they will more than likely find in favor of you. That's it. That's the article. I didn't make anything up. Go Google what I just said. Google what I just said. And they have another branch. Listen, they have another branch. They have some. Also, they have facilities in Paris, France. You want to take this out of my sovereign territory, a dispute that has to do with my resources, that affects my nation, my government, my people, my economy. And you want me to put it in the hands of people who do nothing but rob, pillage, and rape? Man, if you don't stop this foolishness, stop it. Stop it. Flying Crocodile says, nationalization does appear to be justifiable in this instance. And now let's go further. Phobos Moon says, hey, Rashid, I heard Larry Johnson bring up AES in a show. I know you were disappointed by his reaction when you asked. Looked like he might not think no one cares about Africa. Well, I ask him, okay? Because with me, I ask him. I don't care. Listen, I respect everybody's opinion. But when I have something, I ask him. I'm not disappointed in his perspective. That's his perspective. I have mine. We are allowed to have different perspectives. That's why I didn't go at Flying Crocodile. Because on this platform, you are allowed to have different perspectives. Your view is just as legitimate as mine. But if we have different views, let's come to the table and let's do like learned men and women do and discuss them with facts. And maybe we can narrow the gap on our differences. You understand? I don't expect them to agree with me 100%, but I'm willing to defend what I know with facts. Let's see. The legal systems that hear these types of cases are invariably Western legal systems, which are crooked. And Flying Crocodile, you ought to say as hell behind it. Crooked as hell. Don't forget that part. So again, all this, Canada wants to take the initiative out of the hand of the sovereign territory of Mali and put it in the hand of its trade bloc partner, its colonial master. Well, I would say a colonial because it is a subject to America and a subject to Britain, right? And they want you to believe that court is going to decide something that is fair and just for Africa. When has America done something fair and just for Africa? When has Paris, France, done something just and fair for Africa? Matter of fact, let's look at this for a minute. Let's look at the situation in Ukraine for a second. If they have not done anything just and fair in Africa and in Latin America and in the Middle East or West Asia, and then we turn and we look at how they have push this war in Ukraine, killing hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians and claiming to be in the best interest of Ukraine. How in the hell can you think that they're going to look out for your best interest when they don't care about Ukraine? Hell, they don't. America doesn't care about any of her allies. They are cannon fodder for her to advance her goal of global hegemony. And when I say America, I'm talking about America and the UK. These are two, one and the same. You understand? I don't care what people say. America's the muscle. Britain is the mind. I don't care what you say. When you control the flow of the money, you control the policies. All of these think tanks run right back to Britain. The gold exchange is run in London. You understand what I'm saying? These are two daughters of Babylon. They're one and the same. So when you hear me say the UK or you hear me say America, I'm talking about both of them unless I differentiate. Yeah. So Phobos Moon says, speaking of American eating her kids, I came late. Did you talk about South Korea yet? No, I hadn't talked about South Korea yet. I did that on one of my shows previously about what actually took place with South Korea and why there was an imposition of martial law. That is on one of my previous shows. Why there was an imposition of martial law and who benefited. And Phobos, listen, when you want to find out, more than likely, who's behind everything, motive, opportunity, and who benefits the most. Motive, opportunity, and who benefits the most. That's what detectives go after so that they can zero in on a suspect, the most likely candidate for the crime. That's what we do. But let's see. The whole system, from the politicians to the bank. We're going to address the South Korea thing on another episode, though. Let's see. The whole system, from the politicians to the bankers and everything in between, conspires against us all. You know why? Because they don't care about you. I'm gonna keep saying this. You are just a cog in the wheel. You are minuscule in their eyes. You are just something to be discarded. And they'll do and say anything that's going to cement their power, their rule, and their policies on everybody. Phobos Moon says American imposition. Yeah, I would say Western imposition. Because remember that America is the global power, but she needs her allies to try to put over what she's putting over, because had she not had her allies when she put the sanctions on Russia, even though they're not effective now, they would have been less effective, and America would have been looking like a fool. But now she's sacrificed the economies of her allies to subjugate her allies economically, because now Germany has to buy gas from her, expensive gas. Now, what kind of ally are you to know that your friend is in need, and you have all of these resources right here, and you promise them if they go along with you, you would bag them and you would give them whatever they need at a reasonable price. And then as soon as the thing backfires and one of your allies is hit by a boomerang, then you triple and quadruple the price of oil or gas on that ally who was only carrying out your policies. Huh? What kind of, somebody tell me, what kind of friend is that? Put that in the chat real quick. Just somebody. Put what you think, what kind of ally that is. All right. And hurry, please put it in there real quick so that I can address it. My earbuds are getting caught. Not a very logical ally. All right. Not a very logical ally. Now, we know that America has done this to Germany, right? And we acknowledge that. But Iran and Russia did it to Syria. Phobos Moon says ex-wife's sister with bipolar personality disorder ally. America is cannibalizing her friends. Okay, so since we know that America promised her allies that she would stand with them, and then as soon as the gas and the oil gets cut off through America imposed sanctions, she then triples the price of her liquefied natural gas to her allies. She then imposes tariffs and restrictions on her allies. Well, as soon as Assad gets into trouble, what happens? Assad had been fighting on the fringes of empire for the longest. He was the buffer zone against them going on Russia's border and Iran's borders, right? They offered him bribes and he turned them. I don't care what kind of actions he was taking. Listen to me good. I don't care if Assad turned down 1 million offers about we'll do this and we'll do that. You have a defense treaty. You don't have to wait for him. You can activate the defense treaty and go in, especially when it's directly affecting your national security. Now, how is it that as long as he was willing to be cannon fodder, fighting the terrorists, because remember, Ambassador Ford came to Damascus and offered Syria a deal before the influx of terrorists from Turkey, Jordan, and Israel. Assad refused because he was loyal to Russia. They offered him another deal to extricate the IRGC out of Syria. He refused it. They offered him a pipeline deal. He refused it because he knew that it would directly affect Russia's economy and Iran's economy, right? And then Donald Trump himself offered Assad a deal that if Assad allowed America to receive some of the revenues of the oil and gas in that 1/3 of Syria that the U.S. was controlling, that U.S. forces would pull out. Google what I'm saying. I'm not making this stuff up. Assad refused. So Russia turns their back on Assad because Assad doesn't want to meet with Erdogan. Because Erdogan caused the breakup of Syria. Because you're trying to kiss Erdogan's behind. Because he controls the Dardanelles and in and out of the Black Sea. This is the same guy who Assad and Russia and Iran saved from a U.S. assault on him in a coup. And then Erdogan backstabs Russia and sends Bayraktar drones to Ukraine to kill Russian soldiers. And you're mad at Assad for not reconciling with Erdogan. So he become belligerent in the end, as you say, and you gave up hope on helping him. And now you're having buyer's remorse. Now, we just saw what you said when a person acts like this, and it's America and Britain. Why don't we use those same examples when it comes to Iran and Russia? Because Assad is not who they were after. They wanted Tehran. They want Moscow. Assad just so happened to be the one defending the outskirts of Tehran and Moscow by going head on with Israel. How in the hell can you say I'm acting irrational when you deploy S-300 and S-400s to Syria and not allow me to use them? You then give my enemy, the one who flooded my territory with the terrorists, you give him S-400s and don't put any restrictions on him on how to use them. And he shot down your Russian warplane over my airspace. Make that make sense. Make it make sense. They talk about, well, Assad, the intelligence in Idlib, Assad ignored it. Who was the one? Let's go back. See, because people have short memories, okay? we're gonna say this and then we're gonna end the show, okay? We're gonna address this a little bit. We'll end the show. Who was the one who was against allowing a safe haven in Idlib? Go Google it. It was Assad. He was the only one that was against. Well, he and Iran was against allowing a safe haven in Idlib. It was Russia that forced his hand on that. Because Russia negotiated with Turkey. Assad was not with that. Go Google that. People forget this. So now that Idlib became a stronghold for terrorists, whose fault was it? You want to put it on Assad? No, that was Russia's fault. Because Assad was against that. But Russia tied his hands with that. See, I give Russia his credit when Russia does right, but I'm going to She's not perfect in no way. You guys have short memories. This is why I'm so strong on my foundation, because I can go pull it up. I can pull it up. I send myself emails and stuff. I can pull this stuff up. It was Russia at the behest of Turkey, because it was trying to win Turkey's favor, that allowed for the terrorists to have Idlib. The Syrian government was adamantly against it. Go Google it. The MS, they might scrub the internet of it now. Go it, all that stuff. Go to all, ping it and bing it and all that stuff. Assad was against it. Assad was for the entire sovereignty of Syria, and that was getting in the way of the deals that other people wanted to make. So say for instance, he may have been out of touch with reality, maybe so, but we know for decades he stood on the battle lines for you. Loyalty means everything, buddy. Loyalty means everything. And now Russia is having buyer's remorse, as I did a premium article yesterday on Patreon, that all of the agreements that Russia had agreed with the terrorists that are now in Damascus have been nullified at the behest of the U.S. and the EU. Russia thought that he had gained favor with Al-Qaeda or ISIS in Damascus. And now Russia can't even resupply its own ships, and it cannot even resupply its own bases in Tartus, because they have been out to sea for 11 or 12 days now. And the authorities, the illegitimate authorities, ISIS, don't ever forget that ISIS in Damascus has refused to allow Russian landing ships and resupply ships to dock at Tartus. And now they're having buyer's remorse. Well, sometimes when you think the grass is green on the other side, you learn that grass over there got snakes and ants and all kind of things in it. And I think Russia is quickly seeing that, hey, they're having buyer's remorse. And all of these stories that they're making up on the side, why didn't they say that before? See, it's easy to talk about a person when they have no way to talk back against your allegations, because he no longer is in control of Syria. He doesn't have a bully pulpit to talk back, right? If you're going to accuse the man, give him his day in court. Don't make up all of these allegations against him. You didn't make him up a week before the fall of Damascus. You didn't make him up a month before the fall of Damascus. And after the fall of Damascus, to suit your switch, Assad was irrational. Assad was, you couldn't reason with Assad. Man, if you don't stop this foolishness. Listen, I was born that night, just not last night. You understand? You can't just pee out a window and tell me it's raining and I'm going to believe that. They don't respect you when they do stuff like that. But I respect you, and I'm pretty sure that you respect me. I'm not going to go out the way I always go in. I've been having legal challenges with YouTube. I'm getting over a dozen violations a day. Over a dozen. I can show them to you about non-copywritten or free music in my intro that they supplied. And they're saying that I'm in violation of copyright law, and I'm infringing upon somebody's copywritten material, even though this is YouTube approved music. Make that make sense? So you approve it, you allow it to be used, and when I use it, you go back on all of my videos and tell me that I'm in copyright violation. So now I'm getting hit with multiple copyright violations everywhere. This is what they're doing to the show. All right. So I'm not going to go out with the music. I'm going to go out with power, as I always do. I come in with power because I come in the name of God, and I go out in the name of God. I want everyone to know that I really appreciate the time that you've given to me. I'm getting ready to hit Dimitri's up, and I'm gonna see, because I got to figure out a time that we can get him back on. He wants to do it Friday. I'm going to see about a time to get him back on. Because I don't know if my schedule will permit, but if it will, we'll try to get him here Friday, which is what, 2 days from now. So and I think that's my daughter's birthday, my baby girl's birthday. Yeah, no, Friday or Saturday is my baby girl's birthday. Anyway, no, it's Saturday. But anyway, I want each and every one of you to know that I love each and every one of you who loves truth. But know that the love that I have for you will always pale in comparison to the love that God has for you. Until we next speak again, stay strong, stay true, but above all things, stay righteous. Hey, mama, your baby boy definitely loves you more than life. Deuces, everybody, from the bottom of my heart. I'm talking about from the bottom of my heart. I really appreciate the time you've spent with me. We're out of here. Peace.